Hey, my name is Ray, and you're watching Ray Books, and welcome to the 35th installment of my currently checked out series. If you're new to my channel and never seen any of my currently checked out videos before, essentially the purpose of this series is to share with y'all the books that I check out and the other resources I utilize from my local public library system. I am lucky enough to live in San Francisco, so the San Francisco Public Library System is the library system I utilize the most often. However, on increasingly rare occasions, I also use other library systems throughout the state of California. At the end of each video, I'll be giving y'all a price tally on how much money I saved by utilizing the resources available to me through my local public libraries. Y'all, health as an adult is hard. Being anemic and having an iron deficiency is absolutely bonkers. I am tired all the time. I am exhausted all the time. So I've been doing a lot more resting and taking naps as needed and just chillaxing. But I'm going to try and catch up. I am going to try and catch up. Everything in this video was checked out between April 23rd and May 7th, so I'm squeezing another 2 weeks into one video. The first book that I've checked out within this 2-week span is Hold You Down by Tracy Brown. This is an urban fiction novel set in Staten Island and follows two sisters, Moreci and Lennox, and their two sons, Judah and Dion, in the late 80s to early 90s. The novel focuses on the choices that these two sisters make throughout their lives and how those choices impact each other and their children. I love Tracy Brown. Whenever I have the opportunity, I will sing her books praises to the high heavens. She is one of my all-time favorite urban fiction writers. I have actually already read this book. I give it a very solid 4 out of 5 stars. It is incredibly good. It is incredibly heartbreaking and incredibly enlightening and incredibly beautiful. The whole entire premise of it is it focuses predominantly on the crack epidemic and a whole bunch of systemic racism issues and issues within the Black community and outside the Black community. It's just a really, really, really good take on the late 80s to the early 90s, and ooh, I loved it. If you have ever read her book, White Lines, I would strongly, 185% recommend that you pick up this one as well. The next book that I checked out within that 2-week time period is another urban fiction novel, and it is Life at the Club by Adrianne. This one sets place against the backdrop of a strip club and follows 3 main characters. There is Nova, who is a young mom who is tired of barely making ends meet at her grocery store job, so she decides to work at the strip club. There is Mervyn, who is a war veteran and the owner of the strip club and is trapped in a loveless marriage and is cheating on his wife left and right. And then there is Montez, also another young single parent who has been bitterly scarred by young love. And together, these 3 characters, their stories are going to interact, and it's going to be wild. I finished this one as well. I give this one 3 out of 5 stars because it was a hot mess, but a hot mess in the absolute best of ways. It is crazy. It is essentially just reading lightweight erotic porn. It reminds me a lot of Zane with a little bit of Quan mixed in. I really enjoyed it. There's one character who does kind of just get randomly introduced into the narrative threads, and her decisions are freaking weird, but I still really enjoyed this book. And the third book that I checked out within that time period was The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. This is a contemporary mystery novel set in Vermont where a group of bakers are recording for celebrated bakers Betsy Martin's annual baking competition, and one day they find a dead body in the tent. I've been seeing this one pop up in the comments for a hot minute, so of course I had to check it out. I actually did finish this one as well. I gave it a very solid 3 out of 5 stars. I loved the multiple point of views. I loved the whole ending of the novel. I just wish that there had been a lot more time with the unveiling of the mystery and maybe a few less point of views because I feel like the mystery could have had a lot more going on for it if maybe like 2 characters were left out of the point of view cycle. But I really did enjoy this. I would definitely 100% recommend this to people who are fans of the Great British Baking Show, like I am, and also people who love mysteries set in fancy estates. And yeah, it was a good one. It was a quaintly good, easy mystery. So read it. Just give it a read. And also watch an episode of the show after you give it a read, because at first this was like a 1.5 out of 5 stars for me, but then I watched an episode of the Great British Baking Show and I was like, oh wait, no, this makes sense now. So I think they have to be glommed together for it to be a really good book, in my opinion. Just my opinion. And the 4th book that I checked out within that 2-week period is Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. This is a middle grade coming of age graphic novel that follows a young girl named Anya as she is excited to prove her worth to be a protector of the lunar moths who allow for the sacred night lily to bloom once a year. However, Anya realizes that being a protector might not be all that it's cracked up to be. I checked this one out because I friggin' loved the Tea Dragon Society. It is the most adorably illustrated graphic novel series I have ever come across. So when I found out that she wrote a chunky book, I was like, ooh, let me go and get that. I haven't read it yet, but I'm very, very, very excited to give it a read. The 5th book that I've checked out within that 2-week time period is The Last Mapmaker by Christina Soontornvat. This is a middle grade fantasy novel that follows 12-year-old Sai, who is pretending to be a member of the upper class in order to secure an apprenticeship with renowned mapmaker Pei Yoon. One day, Pei Yoon is chosen to go on an expedition to chart the greatest reaches of the sea, something along those lines, and Sai is chosen to go along with them. While she's on this journey, she realizes that she's not the only person on the boat who is keeping some pretty big secrets, and she has to decide just how far she is willing to go in order to secure her dreams. I checked this one out because Soontornvat has been getting a lot of acclaim, as she should, in the children's literature world, and I felt like it was time for me to read one of her books. I also had this one checked out via Libby. However, I found that the ebook format just wasn't working for me in regards to the story. I haven't moved my bookmark to this one yet, but I want to say I'm probably, oh no, on chapter 10, so about 77 pages in, and the margins are huge. Like, it's huge margins, huge words. I'm looking forward to actually finishing the physical version of this. And the 6th and final physical book that I have checked out within this 2-week period of time is Long Live the Tribe of Fatherless Girls, a memoir by T. Kira Madden. This is a memoir about coming of age as a queer biracial teenager in Baccaratton, Florida. I think that's how that's said. And dealing with beauty standards and privilege, along with also dealing with topics of loss and forgiveness. This is SFPL's On the Same Page pick for May/June, and I told y'all I am trying to read each and every single one of the On the Same Page picks, so hopefully I'm going to get around to reading this one. It seems pretty good. The text is tiny, and the margins are big, so I have hopes. I have semi-high hopes that I'll actually get through this. I'm not really a memoir girly, but I'm gonna try. And then I have a few ebooks checked out, the first of which is via Libby, and it is The Second Miss Astor by Shana Abe. This is a historical fiction novel about John Jacob Astor and his wife Madeline Force. If I'm gonna be honest, this is not at all my type of historical fiction novel. It's a little bit too hoity-toity for me. It's a little bit too much rich people drama for me. And this is coming from someone who's historical fiction novels of choice are usually dealing with royalty. but there's something about Gilded Age wealth that I just don't really enjoy reading about, especially when like both parties are like almost equally wealthy. It's just kind of bleh. And from also what I understand, this book deals with the Titanic, because apparently that's where John Jacob Astor loses his life. And that's not a spoiler, that's like an actual historical event. And Madeline Astor is dealing with that when giving birth to their son. There's a whole bunch going on, and it's just not my historical fiction cup of tea. I have actually never even watched the movie Titanic, so maybe I should watch the movie. I do want to learn more about the Titanic, but I don't think it's going to be within this historical fiction novel. This was honestly one of those, like, I'm really, really sleepy and I just need something to read in order to, like, really kick me off into La La Land, and that's how I came across this one. And then I have a few comics checked out via Hoopla, the first of which is issues 1 through 3 of The Approach, and this is by Jeremy Haun, Jason A. Hurley, and Jesús Hervás. This is a horror mini-series that is set at an airport, and it follows a group of travelers as they encounter a plane that has been missing for 27 years and the creature that has chosen to inhabit it. Once again, this was a sleepy browse, and I was looking for something horror-based, and this one seemed pretty interesting, and I made it through half of issue 3 before I realized it's just not my type of horror per se. It still seems really, really interesting, and I would strongly recommend it to folks who are into kind of lost plane returns with strange alien monster. So I wouldn't write it off. It's just not my type of horror. However, I did make it through 2.5 issues, so I gave it a solid try for me. And then the last group of comics that I checked out via Hoopla is The Plot. This is, oh, my battery's dying, is The Plot. This is volume 2, but I also checked out volume 1, and it is by, oh my goodness, Michael Moreci, Tim Daniel, and Joshua Hixson. This is another horror miniseries. A husband and wife are brutally murdered, leaving the care of their 2 children to the husband's brother, Chase. Chase is a bit of an F-up, and as he takes these 2 children as his own, he decides to return to the family home, which is situated near a very, very, very sketch bog and has some pretty dark and messed up history. Once again, this was a sleepy Hoopla browse. I am still searching for, I don't know, like the perfect horror graphic novel. I read volume 1 and 2. It's almost felt like I was reading something that I'd read before, which isn't always a bad thing, but I was looking for something that felt fresh and something that felt incredibly new. So I wish I'd found what I was looking for. I would give this series as a whole 2 out of 5 stars just because I wish there had been some more to it. I really, really wish there had been more to it. I wish we had spent more time learning about the past history of the house versus the weirdness of the present. And that is it. That is everything that I checked out within that 2-week period. I saved a grand total of $173.03. Say what? Ooh, that's a lot of money. And of course, this would not be currently checked out without me asking y'all some questions. First of which is, what is it that you currently have checked out? And if you don't have anything checked out, you don't want to share that information, or you're just not a library user, let me know. What is your favorite horror, thriller, or mystery book in general? Because your girl is on a hunt for a really good mystery, thriller, horror situation. For me, my current favorite would have to be a combination of Something is Killing the Children and House of Slaughter. Like that's the vibe I'm looking for. So if anyone has any recommendations based around those 2 titles, let me know in the comments down below. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you ever want to hear me babble about books ever again, please hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I believe it helps me out with the algorithm. I hope everyone is having wonderful days and reading wonderful books, and I will catch you in the next one. Doodles!